I died. No, that's not true. I'm sorry. It's not clickbait because you already clicked. It's just sensationalism. Yeah, I gave up coffee abruptly, cold turkey. Here's what happened. Uh, Background on me, I have drank coffee heavily. I have drunk coffee heavily for years and years. Uh, my love affair with coffee started, I guess, 2007 or 8. There was a Starbucks on campus, and I drank coffee occasionally before that, but it wasn't like a daily thing. But I started to go to Starbucks and get a grande coffee before this Catholic ethics class that I had, and because it was like a 1 o'clock class and I was falling asleep. And when you're drinking coffee and you're not a heavy drinker, it's like it's a drug. The caffeine hits you. So yeah, that's how it started. Then I would have it before, other classes. And then as I got into graduate school, I'd bring a thermos of coffee in the morning and drink that. And then I'd be drinking like a grande Americano at 6 o'clock and still go to sleep. I became pretty desensitized to caffeine, which, with any drug, you just need more and more of it until recently. It really escalated in the last 6 months. I would have, but all right, so don't judge me here. It was like 1.5 to 2 liters of coffee a day for a few months solidly. And like it felt like I was handling it okay. It's not like I had heart palpitations or anything. I did have heart palpitations a couple years ago. Wasn't related to caffeine. It was just stress. But I did notice though I was having a lot of brain fog, and that wasn't fun. And I kind of knew that that was from caffeine, but that wasn't enough to make me stop. But what was enough to make me stop? Why did I finally stop drinking coffee abruptly? I got a stomach ulcer, and that's a whole different video. But which I probably won't make. But that's a whole different story. But I was in such pain for such a prolonged period of time, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, coffee's really acidic. You're drinking so much of it. That's really gonna hurt the ulcer. So you should just stop drinking coffee." And when you're in a lot of pain, that'll make you do whatever. So you're like, "Okay, whatever you say, doctor." So I stopped right away. That was over a month ago, and I haven't had coffee since, which mentally and emotionally has been very difficult because it was such a part of my daily life and my identity to a degree. But I think that I've had a lot of good things come from it, but it still is like I still miss it. So, what was the withdrawal like? I know maybe you clicked on this video not knowing who I am, and you just want to see what it's like for someone who gave up coffee. Of course, if you're that person, you probably stopped watching when I was talking about how much coffee I drank. But uh, because I was scared, because I was reading people on Reddit and stuff. They were like, I had migraine headaches for 2 weeks, or like it was like a month before I felt like a human being again. So I was prepared for a really rough road, and so I didn't think I got coffee caffeine withdrawal headaches because I had gone, occasionally I would just not have that much coffee, or I would kind of skip it until later in the day, and I would never get a headache. And there are some people I know who it's like if they have a coffee in the morning and don't have another one in the afternoon, they start getting a headache, and I've never had that. And I gave up coffee cold turkey once before. Of course, this was like 10, 12 years ago, and I didn't have any effects, but I wasn't drinking 2 liters a day at that point. So for the first, so I stopped drinking it. I guess the last cup I had was 4 p.m. on a Friday, and I felt fine, just a little tired Saturday. But then around 4 p.m. on Saturday, I started getting that headache, and I was like, oh man, come on. And I was reading about it, and it's like this kind of headache it can't really be helped by Advil, which I couldn't take anyway because of the ulcer, or Tylenol or whatever. So it's just kind of like you suffer. The only way out of it is to get that drug back in your system. And so I suffered. I went to bed with the headache, and I woke up and the headache was still there. I thought for sure 1 night's sleep that will do it. No, the next morning it's still going on, and eventually I was like, I need a little hair of the dog to get me through this withdrawal. So I cheated a little bit. I didn't have coffee, but I had this protein shake that is coffee flavored or something, and it has like 85 milligrams of caffeine in it. So it's like a shot of espresso. It's never felt like a shot of espresso, and it's like 16 ounces, so it's not, it's not the same, but that definitely took the edge off. And then after that, the headache went away. So I guess my advice there is, if you go cold turkey, have something else with a little caffeine in it, maybe some black tea, or if there's some kind of like, caffeine containing protein shake or whatever, just a little bit to like knock the edge off of it. And that, for me, I didn't have any more headaches after that. I was making sure I drank a lot of water and all that, but I don't believe, well, here's the thing. People say coffee dehydrates you, but really it doesn't, because the caffeine is not getting rid of water faster than the water you're taking in from the coffee. So in many ways, stopping drinking coffee can dehydrate you, because I'm suddenly not having 2 liters of a liquid a day, which even after you take out the whatever the caffeine is eliminating very fast, it still was a decent amount of water. So I had to keep up the fluid intake, and so the physical stuff didn't last very long, and I didn't really feel that tired. Like I feel tired. I'm just used to feeling tired. Okay, I've got 2 little kids. It's not a big. It's just a way of life, But it's really been the habit aspect that's been the most difficult to overcome, and like the emotional connection to it, because coffee was just such a part of my daily routine. It reminded me of when people are quitting smoking and they talk about like every part of their day. It was like I would wake up and then I'd have a cigarette, and I'd go to work and I'd have a cigarette, on the way to work, and then I'd take a break and have a cigarette. And it was like that for coffee. Like I was just used to starting my day, having coffee, sitting down with coffee, doing my work, having a coffee break at, 10, 12, 2, 4. And I was used to going on a walk and having coffee, drinking coffee as I was walking. And suddenly it was like I didn't want to walk anymore because I wasn't going to have coffee. So it's like I had to relearn how to do all these things. I didn't want to work because I didn't have coffee. And I got decaf tea to take the place of it, so I could have something hot and bitter to drink. And it's not the same. It doesn't come close. But I got used to it. I just kind of stuck with it. Got used to drinking the decaf tea. After a few weeks, I will admit, so this is regular black tea with some caffeine, but it's like a third of what it was. The thing about the ulcer is, it's not just the acidity of the coffee, it's that the caffeine produces more stomach acid. That's the problem. So I haven't had any flare-ups since then, since I stopped drinking coffee. A little bit of black tea. I'm having probably 3 cups of black tea a day, which is maybe 180 milligrams of caffeine at most. And if you look at what I was having before, which was astronomical amounts. I read that the limit you're supposed to have is like 400 milligrams a day or something. I was like doubling that every day. So yeah, so I have incorporated caffeine a little bit, and it's amazing because it's like I would drink coffee and I didn't really feel the kick of the caffeine, but I can drink black tea and I can feel a little bit of a boost, and it's nice. And I'm gonna try not to overdo it, but it's tough because the decaf tea, it wasn't great. Regular tea, I kind of like, I kind of have to like it now because I'm probably not gonna go back to coffee, at least in the same way that I did. Here's some good things about kicking coffee, is that the excess caffeine definitely was giving me brain fog. Like I would sit down and I couldn't really think of anything, and my brain was just like kind of locked up. And I don't know, maybe it's just like the stimulants just get you so overly focused that you can't focus on anything because you're just like focused in on nothing, maybe. Not to say that my mental clarity is like exponentially better now, but I just don't have that fog that I used to have. Also, startling very easily. Like if any kind of noise happened or if something happened, I was very jumpy, which should have been obvious to me that that's what it was. I just figured it was stress, but no, I haven't had that since then. It was like taking our kids out to like go to a restaurant for dinner. That was like it was like I don't know, going to the firing range or something. I was just jumping left and right with every noise and every movement of them trying to throw their food off the table or whatever. So that's nice that that's gone now. Um, and also, I think I knew that I was drinking too much caffeine because sometimes I would get I think it might have been some manifestation of caffeine intoxication. Well, that might be too extreme, but it was like I would just feel like at first I thought it was like low blood sugar because it feels kind of similar, but it was just like this weird feeling of weakness, or it's just like, oh, I just need to like lay down. I feel sick. So that's a bad sign. And I don't have that anymore, so that's good. So overall, I think it's been good to get off of that much coffee. So now that I've learned my lesson, will I go back and try to drink moderately? I don't know that I will, because tea seems to be good, and I know that once I step back up to having like a cup of black coffee in the morning, the caffeine's going to hit me, and I'm going to want that over and over. Because that's what happened. I went for like 3 weeks without caffeine really, except for that protein shake every, once a week, which I didn't feel, it wasn't hitting me. Then I had a cup of black tea with caffeine, and I was like wired, and I was like, I haven't felt this in years. So that was nice. But then I'm not drinking decaf anymore because I'm like, well, I can handle that. I don't feel bad about it. But yeah, if I upgraded to coffee, it would probably just get right back to where it was at some point. Though the ulcer and the pain of it definitely gives you, I think, can throw on the brakes a little bit. But with anything, you acclimate to it, and you're like, I can handle this, and then you just keep pushing and pushing it until everything falls apart again. I do think, though, I will probably have espresso every once in a while, and maybe even daily. I don't know, but I think instead of having just like the American style black coffee or even an Americano, having like a cappuccino or just like a shot or two of espresso once or twice a day, which might sound extreme, I know. I think that will be easier to handle, and I don't know, in some ways more fun. I think the problem is just sipping on something all day. It's just that it became too much of a habit, and if it's just like I don't have an espresso machine, so I'd have to like go somewhere to get it. That makes it a little more difficult, a little more special also. So I'm not opposed to that. I'll allow it. And it feels very civilized to drink tea and espresso and things like that. So I quit coffee cold turkey. It's been over 30 days. I survived. Keep at it. If you are doing it, I don't know. Anyway, thank you.